Live and other places like that actually nursing my baby, and nobody ever knew that I was nursing my baby. But it is something that we learn as we go. It's not something that we know from day one.
Right.
And I also think too that with breastfeeding, it's more of an education thing. Respectfully, I go to Walmart, Target, wherever I go, I see women half naked all the time, and they're not even breastfeeding. It's just a cute little crop top shirt, right? And so, I guess when I see the woman that dresses like that, I guess I'm not really opinionated. I feel like do whatever fits for you. That's just not my preference, but it's okay. So we have the woman who dresses one way, and it's, I just say it is socially the norm. She's okay to do that, but because breastfeeding has strayed away from the normal way from a mother feeding her baby, if she does, we shame her. But if the woman sells her body on TV for a hamburger or something, she's socially acceptable. But the woman who breastfeeds is shame on you. I need you to cover up because I see too much. So it's definitely a per person thing. But as a woman, I guess it just depends. In that moment, when
I agree with what you're saying. I'm not saying that I'm opposed to women breastfeeding. I love that idea. But I was just wondering when you said that there were a gentleman, when you said that there was a gentleman that came into a barbershop and did not like the fact that a woman was breastfeeding her child, he had a problem with it. So I was just wondering, how did you deal with the fact of covering up to a certain degree, or what would it be considered just too much exposure? That's all.
Once again, it's education. Maybe this man has never seen anyone breastfeed. Maybe he just isn't familiar with it, right?
Right.
So maybe if somebody took a few moments who in that barbershop actually knew how to, believe it or not, men are great with it. My husband will support his friends talking about breastfeeding, and you think about it, a man talking about breastfeeding to someone else, they're kind of like, what are you doing? But the more a man is educated too, he makes a big difference in that community. So even having that barber in there and that other guy's like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable with this woman breastfeeding. Maybe if he educates that man on what she's doing, and I hate to say it, let's move him. If you're that uncomfortable with seeing her, let's move you to a different area. Or go sit outside in your car till she finish, and then afterwards come back in and get your hair cut. And I hate to say this, but if a man is that offended and he walks out of your barbershop because he doesn't want to be in there because of that woman, he was never your loyal client anyway. Sorry. We have some, I think, women in the back who have questions. Oh, I'm sorry, she has the mic up here.
That's okay. Just to follow up on what you just said, I totally agree with that, making it more socially acceptable. But as far as the training that you do, because you're right there in the hospital setting when the mom actually delivers and training, is there any techniques that you all share with the mom at that time in order to use out in public?
Of course, but it's up to them as to how bashful they are. Like, the techniques were shared with me, but at that point I was like, hey, free game. I'm feeding my baby, so you like it or you don't like it. But yes, that is one thing that we do with the mothers as well, as we totally educate them, and we give them tips and ways that we did it. But if they choose not to do it, it's totally up to them. Yes.
Thank you.
One more. About 10 decades ago since I had my last baby, but I can remember something about the baby and the mother's connection. Sometimes your breast would just fill up, just
Getting close to that baby.
you don't have time to be looking to find a place because it's all like, get it out. But the other thing is that I think we put too much emphasis on breastfeeding. What about the women who have to look at these guys sagging in the salons or in the shop? So let's deal with what's important, and what's important is the baby.
So I think in this day and age, our breasts have become way too sensitive.
Yes.
Mammals were born with breasts and cats, dogs, cows, which we don't have a problem drinking cow milk, but we drink it. Well, I don't, but most people drink cow milk. So there shouldn't be so much emphasis, as she said, on women breastfeeding their human infants, because that is what our breasts are for. Just because we turn them into these beautiful things that look good under these blouses doesn't mean that just because a woman is exposing her breast to breastfeed a baby, there's something wrong with it. And I know you didn't say that there was anything wrong with it, but sometimes that's what's said, and that's what's implied if a woman exposes her breast. I have zero ability to cover up when I breastfeed my children. So because of larger breasts, larger women, like that's just not a possibility with a little itty bitty baby. Babies' heads are usually smaller than a breast, you know, so there's no way for me to really cover up.
And then I think something else to understand is that in the hospital we have these women, and my job is to encourage these women to let them know mistakes are okay, right? Being a parent is hard enough, and then society makes it seem like if we're not perfect, we're doing something wrong, right? So in the hospital, my job is to teach them, okay, this is how we breastfeed. And then when they decide to leave the hospital and they go on with their lives, believe it or not, you make a big difference in their life between a woman breastfeeding and not. Because one negative comment can really affect a mom in a bad way, to the point where she actually wants to give up because someone told her, shame on you for breastfeeding in public. So sometimes it really does make a difference. I usually say it's better to say nothing at all if you don't have anything positive to say, and even just look away. But it does make a difference, I think, in any business to actually have a mom to feel comfortable that she can breastfeed. And to be honest, you may never get a mom who'll come in there and breastfeed. She just may do it before or may do it after. But to know that your business makes that option available to her, I promise you, it goes a long way.
Yes. Support.